Hey, what's up, peeps? Welcome to MYFI. New episode for you today with my friends Will and Logan from Robot Monster. Cannot wait to get into it. Going to tell you more about them later, but first, wherever you're at, go ahead and hit subscribe. And, you're on Apple or YouTube or whatever, hit subscribe so you get all the notifications when we drop new episodes, which is most often every Friday. Every once in a while, we miss it, but you know what I'm saying. Most often, once a week, we're dropping new episodes. You don't want to miss that, so subscribe. Also, follow on social at MyFi Podcast everywhere. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook page, all that sort of stuff. Follow us at MyFi Podcast on social media. We have some fun conversations during the week about some of the stuff that we talk about on the show, particularly on Instagram. So make sure you're following there. That'd be awesome. But for now, hey, let's get into it. All right. Okay. Here we go. New day, new episode, new stuff going on. Man, it's been a good week. Hope you had a good week. I was thinking about something because I got Robot Monster on the show. Robot Monster is a duo. Will and Logan, guitar and drums, respectively. They're from New Haven, Connecticut, and they got a great new album out. Just came out about a month ago. It's killer. I talk about in the episode the story about how I found the album, and I'm gonna show you. I've got my vinyl copy right here. You should go get one. Robotmonstermusic.com is their website, and at Robot Monster Music is their social everywhere. So go follow them. They're on YouTube too. They got some cool videos and stuff on YouTube as well. So because they're a duo, I thought, that got me thinking about some duos and, some of the cool, like 2-piece acts that are out there now. Obviously I think of bands like the White Stripes, probably my favorite of the duo bands. Black Keys, even though they expanded a little bit, which is interesting because when you talk about duos, is it like just the 2-piece thing, or it's confusing. But I did kind of write down like my favorite like 2-piece duo bands. The White Stripes being the first, obviously Jack White, Meg White. They came on the scene. I don't know that I had ever even seen just a 2-piece band before that, maybe. And had the thought that you could be in a band without having a bass player. Just in the era that I grew up in, I feel like, it was a 4-piece or 3-piece band. It was bass, drums, and 1 or 2 guitars, maybe a keyboard player, if it got even bigger. But it was at least like a 3-piece. Zeppelin was, even though they had 4 members, they were essentially like a 3-piece. And so there were, bass, drums, and guitars. So at least there was a 3-piece thing. So when I saw the White Stripes, I was like, wow, you can actually make like dynamic, cool rock music with like 2 people. It's amazing. And then there was a band in the early 2000s. I think they're still making music. A band called The Kills. The girl who fronts that band, who's the singer in that band, she was in another band with Jack White, consequently, called The Dead Weather. It's a cool band, not a duo, but a cool band. And then there's another duo band I love called the 68. Josh Scoggin and Michael McClellan. Josh Scoggin was in a band called The Chariot. The 68 is a duo band, just kind of like guitar, baritone guitar sort of thing, and drums. And then I recently had a friend of mine, Jason Wisdom, on the show. Jason fronts a band called Death Therapy that is just bass and drums, and it's amazing. I talked about their new record a few weeks ago. And so there are tons of great like duo, just 2-piece bands out there. But I also started thinking about just like great duos, And so I like Googled around, messed around. And here are my 3. I'm going to post something on social this week. We'll talk about both of these, like just the 2-piece band thing as a duo. And then there's like, like a duo, like they may have a full band, but it's kind of like just, like a duo. Here's what I mean. So I wrote down a couple of my favorite, like I think Daft Punk falls into that category. There's only 2 guys, but they're backed up by a lot. So I kind of consider that a little bit more than just 2 people. Maybe you put them in the other category. I don't know. Who cares? It's just for fun, right? But I think about duos, Outkast, killer duo. Tears for Fears was real high up on my list. And because those guys are both multi-instrumentalists, I almost would put them in the 2-band category, even though, I know they have a full band that plays with them and everything, but Tears for Fears is just incredible. They have a new record out that came out recently that is just stellar. And I think they're on tour right now. But anyway, Tears for Fears, awesome. Daft Punk, awesome. Outkast, awesome. Hall & Oates. I mean, the list goes on. You could think about great duos. Simon and Garfunkel, which we actually talk about in the episode. Will mentions them in the episode, I believe, and if I remember correctly. And there's so many great duos out there. So we talk a little bit about that with the Robot Monster guys. So look forward to that. Make sure you're following us on social because we'll keep the conversation going about cool duo bands this week on Instagram and TikTok and whatnot. But before we jump in, let me share the record of the week with you guys. Hatful of Hollow by the Smiths a couple weeks ago. I've got a copy right here if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify video podcast. Got a copy of Hatful of Hollow. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that right now. By the Smiths. You know, Morrissey, Johnny Marr, the deal. A couple weeks ago, I saw the Killers with my wife and some friends, and Johnny Marr opened. And I love Johnny Marr. He's a big guitar influence of mine. I have one of his little signature guitars. I think I talked about that last week a little bit too. But Johnny was in the Smiths, famously, obviously. And man, there's some great songs on this record. A lot of people don't know that they know Smith's songs, but they know, like, he closed his set that night with How Soon Is Now, and the whole place, went crazy, which is a well-known song off this record from the Smiths. What Difference Does It Make is another well-known Smiths song off this record. If you don't know the Smiths, they're kind of one of those bands, they're early 80s, sort of. Morrissey is their singer. Morrissey's probably now more famous for canceling concerts than the songs he wrote in the Smiths, but he is, they wrote some incredible songs. The Smiths are a very influential band, and if you never listened to them, you should go pull that record up, listen to What Difference Does It Make and How Soon Is Now. Those two songs are good songs to cut your teeth on. They have another great album called Meat is Murder. They have a lot of great albums, and if you've never really listened to them, you should go dial up a couple tracks. I would say start with How Soon Is Now. That's a good energy, good intro song to the Smiths, and you can kind of work your way in from there. So anyway, let's jump in today. I got my friends from Robot Monster on the show, Will Brennan and Logan Sidle, couple dudes from New Haven, Connecticut. Their story, which I'm going to let them tell, of how they came about is just crazy, and they have risen to prominence very quickly. Their debut album came out about a month ago, self-titled Robot Monster. It's amazing. It's, like I said, it's a duo. I'm holding it up right here. Got me an autographed copy off their website. Will plays guitar and sings, and Logan plays drums. And it is dynamic, wonderfully written riff rock music. And their name is very significant. They talk about that in the episode too. The artwork for the album is awesome. They know exactly what they're going for. And I have tons of respect for that. Jacquire King, famous engineer, producer, who's worked with Kings of Leon and Modest Mouse and Tom Waits, to name a few, discovered them on YouTube, and the rest, they say, is history. They got involved with him and made a record, and then they've so far opened up for Stone Temple Pilots and just a load of people. They're going on tour this fall with the Bronx and Drug Church, which Drug Church released a great record recently as well. And so they're probably going to be in a city near you. So make sure to check out robotmonstermusic.com for all their tour stuff. Go get you a vinyl. I don't know if they have any more autographed ones on there, but they're super nice guys, so they may autograph it for you, especially if you come out to a show. Make sure to follow Robot Monster Music on Instagram and Twitter and whatnot and all the socials. Just really, really nice guys who are very well versed in music. Connecticut, they told me in the episode, has a great jazz scene. So those boys kind of grew up around some really rich music, and it shows in the way that they write and the way that they play. So hope you enjoy this episode with my friends Will and Logan from Robot Monster. What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, man. It's great to meet you guys.
Great to meet you too. Thanks for
having us on.
And Will, say hello just so they know your voice, the listeners know your voice.
I'm Will. I play guitar and sing for Robot Monster.
Awesome. And Logan.
And I'm Logan. I play drums and also the Robot Monster.
That's awesome. And listen, if you guys haven't heard Robot Monster, you need to listen to him. I was telling the guys before we started recording here a second ago, I was on vacation and I just saw the cover of the record. I was scrolling as I do on Fridays, just checking out new music. And I saw the cover of their debut record and was like, oh, this cover's cool. And oh, Robot Monster is such a cool name. And I listened to the whole album. Right then, I was captivated. Had to have you on the show. So glad you guys are here. Y'all go listen to Robot Monster if you haven't heard them, and I'll talk about them a bunch. But glad you guys are here.
Yeah, thanks.
We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
And you guys are from Connecticut. That's where you are now?
Yep. Mm-hmm. New Haven, Connecticut.
Awesome. Did both you guys grow up there? Or are you from somewhere else?
Yeah, we both grew up
pretty much. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, how do guys your age? You guys like early 20s, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I hate if I get that wrong. You guys, one of you guys is like 14 or 34 or something.
Possible.
I don't know. Yeah. How do you grow up in Connecticut and the record's awesome. Raw, real rock and roll music just sounds awesome.
Thank you.
How do you guys get into rock and roll? Like what was your upbringing that got you into that?
Yeah.
Well, I think both of us had a very diverse upbringing with the music we listened to. It wasn't all rock. We weren't like metalheads growing up, or I mean, we both had a lot of rock bands we loved, but we both grew up in this music community in New Haven around all these great musicians that played anything from punk rock to jazz to hip hop, and like we were sort of immersed in that from a young age. And Will actually used to play in bands with my brother, mm-hmm. and they would play like all kinds of stuff together. And so that's how I actually knew Will originally. And Will almost was the one that got me into heavier stuff. I was doing more funk and pop and, more indie rock type stuff. And we sort of combined our interests. Will's definitely more of the metalhead.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was big into, like when I was in 8th grade growing up, I loved Metallica, I loved Megadeth, System of a Down, a lot of big metal bands. And then, yeah, like as Logan says, this community in New Haven, there's a big jazz scene. And I sort of, in high school, gravitated towards jazz. And then I went to school for that. And then started playing with Logan again. Logan got in touch with me. And said, "Hey, do you want to play?" And he's like, "Let's do rock, man." Like I'm like, "Yeah."
Is that what I said? Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, just kind of spontaneous.
It's so funny how it happened.
I know. I don't even know how it happened, but yeah. Started playing rock and getting back to all the bands I was into when I was younger, and yeah.
Yeah, dude. Do you guys remember, Logan, do you remember who some of those, like you said, indie and jazz bands and stuff, do you remember who some of those early influences were for you too?
Yeah, so I remember specifically being in the car when I was like 11, and Sir Duke by Stevie Wonder came on, and I just, and that felt like my entrance to funk music, and I really fell in love with a lot of that stuff. And I really went through a heavy phase in my adolescence listening to lots of funk, like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, Tower of Power, Lettuce, and I listened to a lot of stuff like that. And I also listened to, like when I was younger, I grew up listening to lots of bands like Kings of Leon and The Killers and The Strokes and stuff. And I really liked a lot of that stuff. I was so young in like the 2000s, a lot of the stuff that was popular there, I felt like I wasn't even aware of, and Will was the one that actually got me into bands like System of a Down and a lot of Metallica too. So I feel like my entrance to a lot of that stuff is newer than most people.
Nice. Well, I mean, obviously you guys seem like you have a rich like musical background. What made you land on what you did with the 2-piece real raw rock sound?
Yeah, that's a good question. So sort of around 2020 pandemic, COVID rampant, and Logan was sort of showing me the value of social media, and so he was growing his social media page on Instagram, And I said, I'm going to start doing that too, because this kid's got like 5,000 followers, and I've got over here with like 400 and something.
Now you have more than me. So mad.
And so one day Logan's like, let's just make a video together. And I was like, okay, like I'll just like, jam on some riffs of some riffs from bands I like and some original riffs that I've written. And so we did that together. We made a video, uploaded it to Instagram, and like the first video we uploaded got like 300,000 views. The first video we did together. So we were blown away by that. We're like, well, let's just keep doing this. Let's make this a thing. Let's just get together and make videos together. And let's make it super raw and, heavy. And so then we were doing that from like around August. Yeah, that was around August of 2020 when that started. And then come October of 2020, so we've just been doing that, uploading videos together. Jacquire King, producer Jacquire King, got in touch with us and said, I like your guys' sound. I like your raw energy. If you guys can, come up with some strong songs, I'd be interested in recording you guys. And so that blew our minds. Jacquire is a Grammy-winning producer.
Yeah.
Kings of Leon, Tom Waits, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, Modest Mouse.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really the first sort of celebrity to get in touch. Like we had Skrillex comment on one of our videos.
Yeah,
it was really. So we were blown away that. And it was sort of what is Robot Monster, what it is today, and the album. It's a big collaboration between us and Jacquire, because it was sort of his idea to keep it like a raw duo as in its truest form, like as it is online and the videos we were doing. He sort of captured lightning in a bottle and said, let's go with that. And so he's like, let's just not put anything on the album except guitar, drums, and vocals. And so it's a big collaboration. Robot Monster is a collaboration between us and Jacquire King.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it totally is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do you remember, each one of you, what the first show you saw was? Like your first concert?
I do. Do you remember?
I think mine was technically it was probably some like children's artists in some park or something, like a local playground. Some guy playing like children's music. It was probably my first concert. But I used to go to lots of. Well, I went to this local music festival called Gathering of the Vibes when I was a little kid. And there would always be all these jam bands playing, and also other artists too. Like, I remember seeing Humphreys McGee when I was 11. It's interesting. First concert, my first concert wasn't Justin Bieber or anything, but I also saw Bruce Springsteen. No, what am I saying? No, I saw John Fogerty. Like when I was 12. So those kind of feel like first concerts, but there's never one single artist I even can remember that was first. Just those two I remember going to when I was young.
Do you remember? Well, Will, you answer.
Sure, so I think I'd say my first real concert was Pearl Jam. I saw that.
Oh wow!
In Hartford in I don't remember what year. But I was young then. But yeah, it was great. It was a great show. Great energy.
Now, that was probably one that affected you, but Logan, do you remember, since you have a few, do you remember the first one that you were like, oh man, music's unbelievable, this is awesome, the first one that affected you?
Yeah, I actually remember when I was 17, I was at Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut, a legendary venue, and my drum teacher at the time, his name's Adrian, and he was in this band called Kung Fu. They were a pretty big funk jam band, and they had another band called Tauk, Tauk, and they both played the show. And Tauk was first, and there was this amazing drummer, and for once he was in the front of the stage. His name's Isaac, and he had the most crazy chops. They're kind of like proggy, kind of jamming. I was so blown away after seeing that. Seeing a drummer that was almost like the star of the show and right up front, and he sang too, and they were totally instrumental. And that night, my mind was blown. I was so inspired, and that felt like a pivotal moment for me. I was like, this is what I want to do. after seeing Tauk.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Are they still making music? Is that band still
Yeah, they're still around. They're super cool. Tauk Tauk. They're a really sick instrumental band.
Nice. Since like the Robot Monster stuff has been so raw, and you guys kept it that way. Now, have you like dove into that music even more, like the raw or rock stuff? And has there been stuff that you guys have learned, and now you're going, oh my gosh, I'm learning from this band or super inspired by this band now that you're in that world?
Yeah,
Definitely.
like 100%. I actually feel like my introduction to like more modern, heavier stuff was probably like 2 years ago. I really think Will sort of inspired me to get more into like heavier stuff, like Slipknot and System of a Down, and I'm still heavily into that stuff, and I felt like combining my lighter style drums with more metal elements has really helped shape my style, and I'm still sort of working on like just finding my sound and everything. But the heavier stuff, I feel like I'm still exploring and everything because I just really dove into it like fairly recently.
Yeah. Same. Was that the same for you, Will?
Well, the heavier stuff I've been into for a while, since I was really young. I mean, if you asked like what sort of what early concert did you see early in your life that really affected you? I saw Metallica on the World Magnetic Tour in 2009 when I was really young, and that was a near religious experience for me because I was just a super fan. I went with one of my friends and we were just Metallica obsessed. We could sing every lyric. I could name like how many songs off which album they played on that night. I remember they played a lot from the new album that we knew at the time. 2008 Death Magnetic was the album they were on tour. Nice. Love that album. They played a bunch from, Ride the Lightning. They only played one song from Master of Puppets, which was Master of Puppets. So that was super cool to see live. But anyway, that live performance blew my mind, especially being such a super fan of Metallica at that time in my life.
Yeah, dude, that's huge.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Have you guys now, I talked about this in the show opening of this episode, like duo bands. Have there been people, because I mean, obviously you think about the White Stripes, you think about the Kills, if you ever heard of them, the girl who's in the Kills. It's also in another band called the Dead Weather with Jack White.
Oh yeah, I heard of them.
Yeah, there's a band that I love called the 68 that's a duo. Another band called Death Therapy that's a great duo band. I just actually have an episode with their vocalist, an earlier episode. But have you gotten into that? Was it something that you just went like, well, no, it makes sense to not have a bass player in this band? And then did that drive you to, have you gotten into yet some of these duo acts to see what the dynamic is like or who inspired them or whatever?
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely. Like today there's Royal Blood, which I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
Definitely. And also, just not just rock duos, but like Simon and Garfunkel.
Sure.
Like there's tons of duos in just music in general, and
it is bands, full bands.
Yeah, there are like duos within bands, like of course Lars and James within, or Gene
Lennon and McCartney.
Lennon and McCartney within the Beatles, or Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. There is always, I feel like, a duo even within a larger band. But also just duos as well. Of course, the dynamic and the chemistry is going to be different, so it's interesting.
For sure.
Okay.
Was that inspiring when you guys were tracking? Like, with it just being you guys, or were there times where you were like, man, I wish we had a saxophone player or something? I don't know.
I don't think so, because I was thinking about this a lot. It's like, I think we're both in a very unique position musically because it's a rock duo in that, like, if you look at our Instagram videos, usually, it's the drummer who's like, keeping the time, whereas the guitar player is the one who's like showing off all his leads. And whereas a lot of the time in our music, I'm the one who's keeping the steady pulse with a driving riff. And Logan is the one who sort of is more of the artist on the kit and goes crazy and sort of, what's a good way to describe it? Sort of riffing or plays color. Plays color, whereas I'm the one who's laying down a steady, even if it's just a measure or two measures of a very robotic riff. Logan is the monster on the kit, and he lets loose, and so this is sort of what these sort of things are what inspired the name, Robot Monster. These type of things is it's a duo, Robot Monster, and so these sort of musical elements.
That's brilliant.
Oh, appreciate it.
Yeah, that's brilliant, man. I didn't know where the name came from. That's pretty awesome. Did y'all collab on the name too, or did y'all have that from the beginning when the videos started?
Yeah, we sort of came up with that, and at the time when we came up with it, we were already sort of talking with Jacquire, and he loved it, and we went with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was honestly something that I was telling you guys earlier. It captivated me too, not just the cover artwork, but I was like, man, Robot Monster is just a cool rock band name. And,
thank you. I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, it drew me in, man. It was great. I mean, we were talking earlier too. I noticed because I immediately, so I listened to the record and then I followed you guys on Instagram, and I saw the Stone Temple Pilots guys, because you can see like, oh, this band's also followed by, whoever. And it was like Dean DeLeo or whatever. You guys got connected with them somehow. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's a pretty funny story how that happened. So we started uploading some videos to Instagram with a special character who's our grandfather, and that took off in a way we didn't expect. We sort of had another idea for him, but he just started doing his own thing. He started dancing. We're like, that's hilarious. Let's just do that. And so we started making videos that blew up. People loved it. And so then, I noticed that one day Stone Temple Pilots started following us on Instagram, and we were blown away by that. Like, legendary band.
Yeah, the actual band.
The actual band page. Yeah. And then
following 13 other people.
Yeah. And so Dean, the guitar player, Dean DeLeo, got in touch with us, and he just wanted to talk, and he thought the grandpa was funny, and he listened to the album, he liked it, and so he asked us if we want to do some shows together, and we're like, yeah, of course. And so
it's a dream come true.
It was a dream come true.
I remember he called us when we were at dinner one time, and he was like, would you guys be able to put together a set? And we were like, yeah, we could put together a set.
They're the coolest. They're the coolest guys. I mean, so down to earth. Just real artists. Those guys.
They're awesome.
They're just real artists. Just so open.
And they're in it for the right reasons. Yeah, they're about the music.
Yeah, they really are about the music and the art and the assimilation with people. It's just
That's awesome. You almost answered my next question, Logan, but I was going to ask, like, when they called and were like, hey, do you guys want to do shows? Did you have original material? Did you have full songs that you felt like confident? Yeah, we could put a set together and come play with you guys.
Yeah, we did. It was actually very recently. It was only this spring, right around the time. It was right when we put out our first single, Caged, in late March, that they called and Dean was asking us about that. So we already had our whole album waiting to be released that we've already played and everything. So we were all equipped and already planning on hopefully being able to tour and stuff. And this was the first great opportunity that seemed to come to us, which was so incredible at this early of a point in our music.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Anybody else? You guys mentioned Skrillex reached out and randomly with Stone Temple Pilots, and you're going on tour.
What's that?
Oh no, you go.
Oh no, Shinedown also. They shared one of our little promos, which was a dream, which was also an honor. I love Shinedown, so that was an honor.
So many rock bands have been following us lately, and so Shinedown followed us. Also, 3 Days Grace. They followed us, and we went to one of their shows, and actually they had us come on stage, and we sat in with them, and then they let us break into one of our originals in their own set, which is so generous of them.
Man, That's amazing. Is this just overwhelming? Like it seems like so fast. Like
It is. It doesn't feel real sometimes.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I feel like I'm just gonna wake up tomorrow.
it's strange the way it's happening too. But yeah, there's like I can make a list of all these legendary rock musicians from bands that have been following us. Like I saw like the guitar player from The Offspring just followed us, and all these amazing bands. It's so cool. It's like our musical heroes are watching, and that's so we're so blessed.
That's amazing. And now you guys got a tour coming up this fall. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. We're going on tour with the Bronx and Drug Church in late October, from October 25th to October 29th. Super pumped. Great band. Super excited.
Is this the first one? First tour?
First tour, yeah.
First official tour, yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, here's an interesting question for guys who are y'all's age. Were you born in the streaming age, and like I know you were, but being brought up in that, did you still buy music? And if you did, like, what was the first piece of music you remember buying, like yourself, with your own money?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first, Will? Because I can answer.
Yeah, we definitely grew up. I wouldn't say I grew up in the streaming age, but I was definitely born at a time in which people were buying like music on iTunes.
You grew up in the iTunes.
The iTunes era.
Yeah, there you go.
So, do you mean like an actual physical album or vinyl or CD?
Yeah, a physical thing.
Okay, I'd say mine that I first bought with my own money was probably "And Justice for All." I remember at it might have been the Danbury Mall, or maybe the Milford Mall in Connecticut. I remember being with me and my metalhead friend. I was like, I'm buying it. I already knew the album, but I was like, I gotta own the physical, physical CD of "And Justice for All," and so that's probably for me my first album physical CD that I bought myself.
Nice.
Yeah, and for me, I honestly, like, I don't know if I can think of a first, because I grew up with such a big library from my parents and brother of physical CDs and vinyls. We always had this big like book or something of CDs, so I never felt a need to buy them, because we had like all the legendary artists from like the Beatles to Zappa, Zeppelin, like all this stuff. I haven't really bought many CDs, honestly. But I remember from a young age, I downloaded a Beatles album on iTunes when I was like 9. I downloaded the Green Day album with 21 Guns on it.
21st Century Breakdown?
Yeah, that one. I always had all kinds of different artists. So
yeah. Well, you guys pressed this album on vinyl. Is that something you guys are into, or was that just something you did for the band?
Oh, we're definitely into it. I think vinyl is just so cool.
Well, now we're super into it.
Yeah, I mean, I just think we have it right here.
I got my copy right here too.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I mean, obviously, today music is a lot more like accessible. You can just, click of a button, you can hear anything you want with streaming. But there is something to be said about just owning the physical piece of merchandise. It's just incredible,
Absolutely.
And so, I feel like anytime I am really into an artist or a band, I really want to own the physical. It's either CD or vinyl,
And nowadays with streaming, like, taking over everything, and it's just all about streaming, it's like, it's kind of sad not to see people holding such an important art form in their own hands. It's like, why does it, like, everything's digital now, but like there's such a beauty in actually like a book holding a vinyl or a CD. It makes it feel more real and more special, and something that people took time to make, not just a track that was uploaded in like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Like a lot of those older jazz dudes, like all around New Haven, like you walk into one of their, you like my guitar teacher, and you walk into their little studio setup in their house, and you just look around, it's like the vinyl, the collection of vinyl they have of classic jazz albums. It's just incredible. Sometimes I wish I grew up in that era, but but there's something to be said, is you still can today. You of course can still collect vinyl and listen to it that way. So.
Sure, yeah. And honestly, like, My kids are one's a teenager, one's almost a teenager, and they love it. They love vinyl. They
Yeah.
come in my office and take my stuff all the time. And when I come back from trips, on vacation or playing somewhere or something, I bring them something. I actually bought my son the Doom soundtrack this week, and some video game soundtrack. And
Nice.
went to Nashville, and my daughter's a huge Motley Crue fan, and so
Oh, wow.
yeah, they just did the represses of all the Motley stuff, and so she got one of those. There is something about vinyl, I think, and physical music that you just feel like it's more valuable, and you, as a listener, feel like you're a little bit more invested in the band. You can pay your streaming fee and click on anybody you want, but when you go like, nah, listen to that, and I think that's worth taking up space on my shelf, and I think that's worth, the $30 or $35 or whatever it is, the vinyl is, or $50 or whatever, because I want to have that, know. And you guys feel that way, but do you think that's common in your generation right now? You think a lot of people your age are getting back into that?
I think so. I know a lot of my friends are. They collect vinyl too, and especially the ones who are really into the arts and into music. Definitely have a lot of friends, who are definitely collect vinyl and CDs still.
I think some are. I mean, I think there's a lot of like 20-somethings that are into it. Like, it's like it's definitely made a resurgence amongst in like street culture and stuff, and like a lot of hipster types collect vinyl now and stuff. But I feel like in like high school kids nowadays, I get the feeling that they probably aren't, and I think one of the problems is that they're just the way they view music with streaming and everything. They just see it as a click of a button and something that wasn't actually made in a studio. I feel like their relation to music is different than previous generations. I don't really see many kids using vinyl or anything. They all seem to be very into Spotify. But I mean, I do know that overall it has made somewhat of a resurgence. I just hope that it could grow even more.
Yeah. Do you guys feel like your outlook on physical music and the value of music changed when you started making it? Because now you're invested in it, whereas like 2 or 3 years ago, you guys may have been jamming and you loved music and were playing music, but now you're doing this as a living. And, has it changed your perspective on the value of that? And you pressed your record on vinyl.
Yeah.
So what does all that mean to you?
Well, I think it definitely makes you, when you listen to a piece of music, or I think it definitely makes you think about more things that you wouldn't necessarily think about. You think about, okay, well, I wonder what, they were going for with this, or I wonder what the dynamic was when they were doing this, or I wonder what, it takes being involved in the recording process in the studio. I wonder what, it makes you think about more things, I think, just more like what the production and, because I always think about, like the guitar part or things like that. But now I think being involved in the production and the recording process, I think it just makes you think about more that you wouldn't necessarily. That's at least for me. I don't know what you can say to that, Logan.
Well, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, being on the inside of it definitely shows a whole other perspective, especially with shows too. I feel like after playing these shows opening for SDP, I see shows in a whole other light, and it's changed it forever, which is super interesting. But yeah, I think that it's easy to think that a piece of music can just be made on a computer in 2 hours, especially with artists releasing songs every 2 weeks nowadays. But I think like the way we made our record, we really put a lot of work into it, and it took a couple weeks, and the heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears is put into one little track on streaming services that you can click on online. So it might seem to some that it is just something that came out of nowhere, but I think once you make music, you realize that it a lot is put into it, and that's not obvious, I think, to a lot of people my age.
Yeah. Not to say that we didn't think about that before. Obviously, knew
Sure.
it was, but it's just think about things that I didn't know about. Not think. Obviously, I knew. I don't want to sit to sound like of course, we don't take it for granted. Obviously, we know the blood, sweat, and tears, and you hear the stories about all the bands and the camaraderie they had and how hard they worked on their thing. But just being involved, you learn new things that especially like learning things from Jacquire and seeing his process. It makes you think about those type of things, like when you listen to a piece. It's things I didn't just know of.
Yeah. Now being inside it, not that you guys, I'm sure you've always respected it, but now you're inside of it, you've experienced it. And so on the other side of it, you got hopes and dreams for the thing now that you've put all your blood, sweat, and tears into that you want people to experience, So when people come out and hear you guys on tour with Drug Church and the Bronx and stuff this fall, or when they pick up the record, what are your hopes and dreams for this now? I mean, you started making these videos out of fun, and it like caught fire, and now you have a trajectory. So I'm sure you have hopes and dreams for this record and for the rest of your career. Do you know what that is yet, or you just guys are just kind of like whatever comes next?
Yeah, I definitely have hopes and dreams and desires. I just hope that it's been such a wild, almost like 2 years now, not even, and I just hope I can continue with it and continue on with it. And regardless of how successful it is, or I just hope to be doing it, because it's just been so amazing and just the people I've met, the experiences I've had, enjoying it with people I really enjoy spending it with, and I just hope to continue. That's just my hope. And of course, I have hopes, and I hope a lot of people listen and enjoy the music, obviously. But I hope to just be years from now, just continuing it. Just to be doing it, because I've been enjoying it so much. Yeah,
and I feel the same way as you will. I will obviously want it to continue, but I just hope I would like we're getting a lot of exposure on social media, which is fantastic, and it's really getting the word out. But I hope that more people listen to our music and actually pay more attention to that, because that's the other part of the equation. And I hope that we can tour a lot and play tons of shows and just create a great live experience for lots of people to come out and have a great time and have a fun night listening to rock music. And I want to bring back the fun in rock and create a super fun party concert where people let loose and don't feel judged and just have a good time at a live show. And I want it to be for 500,000 people. That's the last point.
Nice. Is there somebody that you guys go, oh man, if we could go on tour with this band, like who's your dream?
Oh yeah. I'd say, well, mine is definitely Metallica. I mean, again, going back to being...
Miles Davis.
Nice.
Yeah, going back to being such a super fan of theirs, just that would be incredible for me. Yeah.
I think it would be maybe the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then second, Rage Against the Machine, if I had to choose, and Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I love the Foo Fighters, and I don't know what they're going to be doing in the next few months, but they're one of my favorite bands.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. This is a big question, so you got to think deep, okay?
Okay.
You get your 3 like desert island records of all time. This is usually how... Yeah, you only get 3. You only get 3. This is usually how we close episodes. So like each one of you guys gets 3 desert island records, okay?
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Well, I have to really think about this. I'll choose one. Okay, one like more like I'll choose one like more like mainstream, like heavy rock metal album that's really influenced me. I'll do like a more mainstream quirky one. Okay. So, I gotta think about this. Okay. I'll go with these 3. I'll say Ride the Lightning, Metallica.
Excellent.
OK Computer, Radiohead.
Nice.
And Logan mentioned this earlier, but I'll go Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder.
Very nice. Very cultured.
Oh,
And I would say Nevermind by Nirvana. I love that record.
Excellent.
I forgot, what was Radiohead's second record?
The Bends.
Sometimes I don't even pay attention to the album names.
I love the Bends. It's such a
the Bends.
with fake plastic trees and
song. Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
Giant High and Dry. That album is so good.
Also, I think I'm trying to think which Zeppelin record I would choose.
Zeppelin 4. No, that's the easy. I mean, that's the
two.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking 2. Yeah, I choose that. Yeah, I just to have some variety in era and stuff. It's so hard to answer. So because lately I'm not even listening to full albums. I'm just listening to all kinds of different songs on Spotify. I guess I am part of the problem.
That's excellent, Logan.
I'm a fake. I admit it.
No, you guys are doing it. You're doing the real deal out there. Everybody's listening to it differently. You know, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I don't think it was all that different in the 1950s. You know, it was a very singles-focused time.
Yeah.
45s, late 50s, early 60s. And then, it was full albums, became a thing later. And I wonder, we'll see, I guess, in a few years, but I wonder if music is cyclical, where right now there's a little bit more of a focus on singles. And we'll get back to a time where, people are really loving consuming full records too. So you never know.
Yeah, we're in such a weird time. It's hard to say where the future is headed.
Yeah, for sure. Are there artists, last question I'll ask you guys, are there artists right now like that, you would consider peers, like young artists that you go, oh, I love listening to them. Like, I think the new Harry Styles album's excellent. You know, are there artists like that, current young artists like yourselves, that you go, oh, we love them.
I'd say so. There are a lot of,
I think young.
I have one. This is more obscure. I showed you these guys. This is pretty obscure. Not many people probably know these guys, but and hesitant. I mean, I feel like there's this Russian duo I really like. I remember I showed you them. I can't even say their names, like Roth, and I don't even know how to say their name. But I just found them on Spotify one day, and I started listening to their music, and I thought it was very interesting. It's like one of them sort of sings, and like they sing in octaves a lot of the time. They both melody, but then they'll also harmonize. And it's interesting. They'll like have this beautiful piano part, and then they'll just put like a trap beat under it. And it's very well written songs. I can't understand anything they're saying because it's all in Russian. But it's beautiful music. I found them. I was like, I like it, and they're very new and contemporary.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's this young singer-songwriter. He's pretty popular, named Sam Fender. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I think he's really great, and I like some of the stuff he sings about. He keeps it real, and he just seems to be an authentic artist in a time of a lot of fakeness. So I always get excited when I hear artists like singing about stuff that is true to their hearts and not just scripted.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Well, you guys are the real deal too. I appreciate you guys being on.
Thank you so
much. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, if you're listening, watching on YouTube, watching on Spotify video podcast, go check out at Robot Monster Music on Instagram and all their social medias, and robotmonstermusic.com. Buy a vinyl. I did. Logan says he's part of the problem listening to Spotify, but he's not. They pressed vinyl. So, and look for them on tour with Drug Church in the Bronx this fall. They're coming through my town. I'm going to see if I can make that show, fellas. So thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you, Lee.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys have a good one.
Take care.
That's some sharp guys right there. Good dudes. Humble, hungry, love rock and roll, getting every opportunity that they deserve. So excited for those guys and their future. Definitely make sure and check out their music, robotmonstermusic.com. Go check out the tour dates. They're out with Drug Church in the Bronx this fall. Go check out their social at Robot Monster Music. Check them out on YouTube. Got some cool videos on there. They're just great guys, and I think that the sky could be the limit for them. Man, when you get the attention of Stone Temple Pilots and bands like that from the beginning, there's just something going on. Jacquire King, people like that. It's just excellent. And I too, I was captivated. I listened to that whole record the day I found it. Just stumbled upon it on Apple Music, and it's incredible. Went and bought it on vinyl, and had to have them as guests on the show. So make sure that you check out everything that they got going on. Make sure you follow at MYFI Podcast. Check out everything we got going on here at the show. Go subscribe on YouTube. Go subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Google or Stitcher or wherever, Spotify, wherever you consume your podcast media. And got another great episode coming up for you soon. So until next time, have a good one.